My name is Dan Delmar on CJAD 800 Montreal and News Talk 1010 in Toronto. That sound means we check in with our usual columnist here in Montreal. James Mennie is with Post Media and the Montreal Gazette. Hello, sir.
Hello, Dan.
Now, I think we should turn our attention federally first because some of the polls, I have to say, are not great for the Liberal Party. What is going on?
I got to tell you, Dan, because I know you're no great friend to polls, and I never really expected to use a word like this again on air. But it seems the ongoing saga of Justin Trudeau just took a very tawdry turn. I really thought we'd be looking back at the year and the unknowns that Canadians are going to be facing politically at the federal level. And yet here we have a situation where 3 weeks ago, Justin Trudeau breaks up with Chrystia Freeland very publicly on Zoom. And now we have Mark Carney breaking up with Justin Trudeau on the op-ed pages of the Globe and Mail. I heard you talking about his op-ed piece earlier. And
Sorry.
Well, no, wait a second. I concur his last line, bring the Stanley Cup back home to Canada, is, I may appear to be a stodgy banking president, but I'm a Joe Lunchbucket kind of a guy, just like all of you out there. But what gets me on this is his enforce real rules on government spending. He writes, governments can't give in to reflex spending that treats the symptoms of our problems rather than curing the disease. Now, Dan, that doesn't exactly rhyme with I will eliminate $250 on taxes and give you a GST holiday. But my God, it's clear that with this little missive that Mr. Carney is putting about 2.5 light years between himself and Justin Trudeau, if only because and I like to think that he's the one who got bushwhacked on this. He had no idea just how far south to hell this plan of Justin Trudeau to dump Chrystia Freeland after she had done his dirty work with the economic statement and then, hand her job to Mark Carney has gone. So, yeah, I mean, it seems a day cannot go by, Dan, where some new rake appears before Justin Trudeau, and he steps on it and gets slammed in the head with the pole. And also as an aside now, we're hearing talk, rumors at this point, that even the Quebec caucus of the federal Liberals have joined their voices. They want him out yesterday. And with all due respect to your March 3rd, even though I like the idea, the rationale behind your March 3rd deadline for Trudeau leaving, it's virtue signaling. It's the International Women's Month. I think the stakes are too high. I think they are building a trebuchet even big enough to accommodate Justin Trudeau and his ego. And I have a thinking suspicion we're going to see him go soaring over the wall, metaphorically speaking, of course, sometime in January.
Okay, yeah, I think our pundits are also predicting January as well, but a lot of people are predicting December. So it's I don't know. I mean, he's sticking in there. And the polls from today, let's just quickly address some of the polls because those were shocking. It does appear, at least according to Angus Reid in another poll, that something's happened in the last few days. And my theory is that there's talk of him resigning, but no follow-up, no action, no updates from him, no succession plan. Is that what's frustrating Canadians?
I think Canadians are beginning to realize what a lot of us in our line of work realized perhaps a lot sooner, is that Justin Trudeau is a deer in the headlights. He's in shock. He can't believe this is happening. This is a guy who spent the past 9 years as Prime Minister believing his own PR, drinking his own bathwater. And we've had proof of it over and over again, that as much as we don't want to admit it, in many cases, and I'm no friend to the government, or was no friend to the government of Stephen Harper, certainly no friend to the potential government of Pierre Poilievre. But back in the day, those 2015 attack ads on Trudeau suggesting, quite frankly, that he was in way over his very well-coiffed head were true, that he doesn't know exactly what is going on. We need only look at his infamous January 2017 tweet saying Canada is open to everyone and everyone who wants to come to Canada. We are wide open. Come on over. And we are still mopping up the damage of that. God knows how many more billions we're going to have to spend simply because Monsieur decided, you know what? I think it'd be really neat. I would look really, really cool if I put out this tweet just to get up in Donald Trump's face. And here he is a few weeks ago, 2024, Dan, essentially scampering down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss Donald Trump's ring as the president-elect prepares another 4 years of absolute chaos for the U.S. and for us.
One thing I want to mention, you want to talk about Quebec sovereignty, and we want to harp on it, but I think it's important for others outside of Quebec to know that you may hear a lot of noise about sovereignty. You may hear that the PQ is leading in the polls, but at least in my view, James, I don't think there's any kind of serious threat for sovereignty at the moment.
Well, no, and the thing is, I know we have listeners now who out in Toronto and presumably elsewhere in the country. Trust us on this. The boogeyman of sovereignty has been used to great advantage by Quebec politicians on both sides of the ideological fence in order to exact concessions from Ottawa or anybody else. But the fact is, it is an option that is now, how can I put it, it's a generational thing, folks. If you're over 65, chances are you want to see an independent Quebec before you die. If you're under 35, you could care less. What you want to see is a job, a mortgage, the same thing anyone else in this country wants. So if Francois Legault, our premier, wants to run around thumping his chest, talking about the Quebec nation, an expression that, quite frankly, he had handed to him by the Hartford government, I think it was back in 2010. He can do all he wants, but it's cheap political theater. Even the federal Liberals or some federal Liberal supporters were trying to revive this. If it looks like things are going bad in Ottawa, those separatists are going to pick up again. No, folks, it ain't going to happen. People have grown out of that, and people are not frightened. They may be frightened of new boogeymen, but people are no longer frightened of these very threadbare political scarecrows that some people keep wanting to dangle in front of us.
One thing that I would mention is the old Trudeau strategist Jerry Butts wrote recently in The Walrus in a piece that was very well shared, especially in Toronto. The Quebec secession crisis is coming and Canada isn't ready. Ooh, sounds scary. Sounds very scary.
It would be difficult. In fact, I was considering going to see my ophthalmologist to see if the eye roll that I had done had caused any serious damage. No, sorry, folks. As I say, it is a cheap theatrical tool. It is the same as as trying to wrap yourself up in this theoretical fight. And what's really funny about this, Dan, Jerry Butts, longtime Trudeau loyalist, is saying, "Look out! The separatists are going to." If anybody has handed English Quebec to the separatists on a silver platter, it's Justin Trudeau. If anyone has caused any nationalist, so-called nationalist, which in my opinion is just a Quebec separatist who's too chicken to hold a referendum, by taking Bill 96, which is extremely illegal language legislation, and injecting it into the preamble of the Official Languages Act, a move that brought at least one MP to his feet in defiance, led to another's, as far as I'm concerned, resignation. This guy just keeps pushing all the wrong buttons and thinking that people are still listening. And this is a problem. And we do kind of sound like broken records at this point, Dan, talking about, well, Justin Trudeau seems to be in trouble again. If it wasn't for bad luck, he wouldn't have any luck at all. But guess what? This is where he is. This is where this political genius, this phenomenon, this hope for all of us, is basically revealed to be, not too much depth. And quite likely, if he doesn't move pretty soon, who will be the author of the demise for at least a generation of the Federal Liberal Party of Canada.
James Mennie of the Montreal Gazette, thank you very much, sir.